Basics of personal finance. Something that is interesting to think about is you think that as you accumulate more wealth, you understand how money works. That's not always the case. A lot of people say that if you can't manage $1,000, there's no way that you're going to be able to manage $100,000. Financial literacy is not a side effect of wealth. It's how wealth is created. Dave and I kind of want to talk a little bit more about what is personal finance.
There's really two skills that go into money, right? One is on the front end, is earning more money. That's a super valuable skill. If you can increase your value that you're providing, your skill set, and earn more income, and that's amazing, right? So obviously do that. The other skill is on the back end. It's on the managing part, right? Allocating dollars to where you want them to go that are going to be for your benefit now and later, right? So just like you mentioned, like I've personally worked with many people that are extremely high incomes, right? Multiple six figures, but yet they have very low net worth because they learned how to earn the income. They didn't learn how to manage it on the back end. And so what this course is about is we're going to talk about planning for after high school. We'll talk a little bit about career, what are your options that way, how to earn income. But really we want to focus on how to manage the back end. What happens when you get the money? How can you set yourself up for the future?
It actually reminds me of a book that I read, The Richest Man in Babylon. They actually talk about that of if you earn $10, you're going to spend $10. But the way to build wealth is taking $1 aside. You'll still spend the $9, but that $1 will be yours to work for you. And I think that's exactly what you said and exactly what you highlighted, is it's not about, I guess, what you earn. It's about what you're able to keep and what's able to work for you.
Yeah. And I think, there's a ton of stats. I mean, you can just Google it and you'll find lots of studies that talk about how Americans are not financially literate, right? There was one recently that was done that showed that upwards of 40% of Americans don't have $500 in their bank account in case of an emergency. And that's a huge issue. And obviously, like, we can talk about macroeconomic, like bigger societal problems, right? But in our course, we want to focus on helping you get to where you want to be, right? Because you do have a lot of control. We can't always control how society is structured or average median incomes or anything like that, but we can control how you increase your skill set to earn more money and how you manage money better on the back end. So there was another study recently done that talked about financial literacy and its effect on financial behaviors. Okay, so what they did is they separated this group of people. They put them into two groups. And in one group, they put them in a classroom, and for an hour, they talked about what types of accounts to use, how to save more, like the specific nuts and bolts and everything about how to save more money. In the other room, they didn't talk about any of that. Instead, what they talked about is they uncovered subconscious beliefs about money. They helped people discover what they actually believe about money. They help people clarify their goals, visualize what they wanted their future to look like. And they did that for an hour with no nuts and bolts, okay? So what they did is they followed these two groups. The first group that received the financial literacy, right, the nuts and bolts, the math side of this, they increased their savings on an average of 20%.
That's huge.
Yeah, 20% is a big
huge
deal. So if you're saving 10%, all of a sudden now they were saving 12. And that's going to make a massive difference. In the other group, where they didn't talk about the nuts and bolts, they just talked about the psychology and goals and everything like that, they actually increased their average savings rate by 73%. So if they were saving 10, all of a sudden they were saving 17.3%.
We thought 20% was huge.
Right? So you can see there's so much emotion tied to money, and there's so much more than just the math. Like, generally, a lot of Americans know what they should be doing. We just don't do it. And it's because there's a gap in our psychology and our beliefs. And so what we hope to do in this course is combine the psychological side of money, right? Your beliefs, your mindset, your goals, and the nuts and bolts of actually how do you do these things, learning about the important topics, investing, retirement, insurance, budgeting, and combine those so that you guys, for the future, you will be way better off than even previous generations before. You're certainly better off than we were. I never got any of this education when I was your age. We want you guys to have a lot of success managing your money and getting to your own goals in life. And that's going to improve your life and society's life in general.
We'll talk about the big picture, but also it'll come down to you individually. And that's exactly where we want it to be.